The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Hi guys, it's Mike and Ricky, and this week we're going to talk about the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I don't know. I don't know what we just saw.
Are we really going to do this? Are we really going to talk about that?
We promised last week.
We watched it.
Yes. I never understood until now as an adult that there was such a thing as Wookiee porn. I'm just really think we just got shut down already.
Maybe we should just start the show.
Yes.
The faster we start it, the sooner we can get it over with.
That's right. I got an itch.
Getting hives. Speaking Nerdy Podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Shilley.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. The things that I seen as a child and now I've seen as an adult, it's very disturbing now.
Some things hold up.
Some things
just don't.
But tonight, folks, we're going to talk about, the 1977, I believe, 78. Still bad year.
Yeah.
1978 Star Wars Holiday Special. Of course, this has been the butt of jokes in the Star Wars universe for how long? But we watched
it so that you don't have to.
Yes. But we will recommend something to watch that was really good. It's called Disturbance in the Force, which is a documentary on this, which was actually, I'm not going to say I'm glad that we watched the holiday special, but it did help us appreciate the documentary even more.
Yes.
And so anyway, but that's for tonight. Also, too, we've got some nerdy news that's coming up. We have our stupid news as well. And then we're going to get into, again, something that everyone enjoys. 1970s Wookiees. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. It's hard to know how to conduct this show tonight because already I've just unsubscribed to us.
Well, why don't we go ahead and do the parts of the show that people might actually enjoy a little bit.
They might like, okay, good. Because, yes, that's...
It's time for the nerdy happenings of the week.
Sorry, I beat you to that.
That's all right. So, real quick, let's do the box office.
Yes, box office is going on.
No real surprise here, but Wonka took the first place this past weekend with $39 million domestically, which is, kind of respectable. It's not a huge win, but it's decent. Internationally added another 113,000. Right now, the gross worldwide is hovering around 162 million. So that's not bad. 162 million. I'm not sure what the budget was for that one. I have to look that up. Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, comes in at second place. And that's been out for 5 weeks. So not real surprised there, but that's a pretty substantial franchise kind of movie. The Boy and the Heron, that's the anime that we talked about. That was a Japanese language anime. Added another $5 million, coming in at third. Godzilla -1 came in fourth. and Trolls Band Together continues to stay in the
Yeah.
top 5, adding another $3 million.
Goodness, trying to pull a Barbie, huh? Well, I mean,
Not exactly a
nothing pull
Barbie,
Barbie.
but staying in the top 5 for 5 weeks in a row is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm rather impressed. But that's kind of where we are in the box office. I did want to look at one other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're almost to the end of the year.
That's right. That's true.
And we're going to, what do we have? Well, technically, we have 2 more weekends left. We have this coming weekend, and we have, which is the Christmas holiday weekend. I don't expect that one to be a big weekend,
I don't think so.
Might be okay. But then the New Year's weekend could be pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
But we have already beat last year as far as the total gross domestic.
Nice.
So about $8.4 billion domestically for the gross this year. And that puts us, $1 billion over last year. And the last time we saw a year-round gross this low was 2002, 2001.
Oh.
So
That was a while back.
Yeah. So
Okay.
just so that everybody has a good picture of how the box office is really doing.
Yeah.
We're talking, you got to go 20 years back to have a year this low outside of pre-pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because the last 3 years have been horrible. But
Yes, it has been.
pre-pandemic, we're still not anywhere close to getting the theater back to where they were.
No, we're not. No. And especially now we have the writers and the actors back. So,
yep.
And of course that means a lot of things being pushed back, like Andor will not be released in 2024. It's been pushed back, which I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And several large movies that should have come out this year got pushed back to the beginning of next year so that the actors would be available to do the press junkets.
Exactly.
So it's possible next year could be a big jump.
Yeah.
Speaking of big jumps, this is a horrible segue because I don't think it has anything to do with a jump at all. But Marvel is jumping away from Jonathan Majors.
Yes, that's
so Jonathan Majors as Kang is no longer going to be Kang in Marvel. Now, still tons of speculation from everyone as to whether or not they are going to recast Kang or just call it good and move on.
I've heard some rumors, probably same stuff that you've been hearing about. Maybe a Doctor Doom. I don't know. There's some rumors on that. From also, and just coming from other, and from reputable sites that, and I'm sure Marvel, right? I'm sure Marvel's at the point where they're thinking to themselves, okay, I kind of, I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but I think Marvel may not know what they want to do themselves in this situation.
I kind of think, I really feel like they were waiting to make a firm decision. And I do kind of feel the same way. I think they don't exactly know. With that in mind, the Avengers Kang Dynasty, which would be the 4th in the Avengers franchise, now officially has a temporary name, just Avengers 5. So Kang Dynasty has been removed from the title.
Okay.
So that kind of feels like to me that Kang may be over. And, with some of the things that happened, it almost kind of makes sense in my brain
It could. I mean, yeah.
Because we had we had the Ant-Man,
Yes.
and Kang was basically defeated there.
Yes, and then we had Loki.
And then we had the Loki,
yeah,
where depending on your interpretation of what happened at the end of Loki, Loki could have just basically wiped it all away.
Yeah.
And you could just say that Loki dealt with Kang.
Yeah, I mean, easily you could do that. And so that, it's funny how this is all kind of fell into place. I don't know how much of it is just luck for Marvel.
How bad would it be if you had a cliffhanger movie?
Yes.
Where Kang had just won, just defeated everyone, and now you have to dump him.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I'm a little conflicted. I never was a huge Kang fan. I thought Kang would be fine.
Yeah.
I always wanted Dr. Doom as the next big bad, especially when they announced Secret Wars.
Yeah.
It just made sense. So this could be a situation where you give Dr. Doom a bit of a build up, put him in Avengers 5 as the bad guy who kind of falls, he's not thoroughly defeated, but he is temporarily defeated, and then do a Secret Wars where now Dr. Doom is, you've got a real Beyonder, and you've got, if you've read any of the comic books, you have a real Beyonder and you have a Dr. Doom who schemes and connives to get the Beyonder's powers.
Exactly.
That could be fun.
Yeah, and that could be fun. Also mentioning Marvel, also too, the trailer of Echo is out, a teaser trailer. We were talking about earlier about nerdy news, and that came to mind. And it's fascinating that in this trailer, a Disney Plus trailer, it says, make sure you go to your settings and change the ratings.
Yes.
Because this is supposed to be one of the, probably right up there with some of the comparable to the Marvel's Netflix. This is supposed to be
will this be the first?
This would be the first plus
M, or
yes.
I don't M-rated. I'm not sure what they're calling it.
I believe it is. I think so, because everything else.
And when I say first, I mean the first one they've created specifically for the platform, because some things were added to the platform that are only available if you've changed the setting already.
Yeah, the stuff from Netflix, like The Punisher and Daredevil came over, and then you had.
But is this the first thing they've created specifically for the platform that is going to be the higher rating?
I do believe so. If anyone out there is listening, and if I'm incorrect, again, this is Disney Plus produced. This is not anything that was brought
Andor wasn't, was it?
No.
Okay.
No, not Andor, and neither was the Secret Invasion. So no, all of those kind of fall into play with the PG-13 type of.
Yeah, Andor was the only one I thought maybe might have, because of maybe some violence.
Yeah, it was a little more mature, but. Yeah, nothing.
They didn't really show anything that mattered.
Exactly. So,
so that's it. That is interesting that they're finally going to release something brand new just for Disney Plus. That's going to be the higher rating. We'll see what it looks like.
That's right.
Are they going to go all HBO Max on us, or are they just going to get bloody?
Well, I'm sure they can go. I think the thing with Marvel, they can go both. They can go both. I mean, you have.
I don't see Marvel going full Game of Thrones on us.
I sure hope not. I don't. There's too much. Let's keep brother and sister out of the same room. Yes. Anyway.
I mean, we've already seen that over at DC with the John Cena led
John Cena,
DC
yes,
show.
yeah,
But Peacemaker, that's the one I was trying to think
Peacemaker,
of.
that's right.
Yeah. So we've already
Yeah.
seen, DC has already gone full.
And I know why they
Game of
call it
Thrones.
Peacemaker now. It has nothing to do with a gun, but okay.
Oh
So
my gosh.
anyway, yeah. So anything else on the news? I think there was a couple more items, didn't you have, by the way?
I don't think I had anything else. You had
Okay.
something about Halo.
Halo, in February, the second season of Halo will be coming out on Paramount Plus. So there you go there. And apparently, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Paramount Plus is also, I guess they're doing a YouTube channel where you can watch, if you haven't seen the first season of Halo, you can watch it for free. So
wow. Okay.
kind of get people up to speed. And if they want to,
I did have one other thing.
yeah.
Speaking of brand new things, 2 days as of this recording, because we record on Wednesdays. So when this episode releases on Friday, Marvel What If will come out.
Oh yes, that's right.
Episode.
Oh, I'm excited. Good
I
deal.
am too.
Let's deal. Oh man. What if we talked about what if? But this is going to be it's almost like 8 days, or how many days there's going to be a new one each day?
A new one each day, I believe is
yes,
correct. So it's basically through the end of the year or something.
Fascinating.
Right up until the end of the year.
Deal. That's right. And for you gamers out there, it's the Epic. That's right. And go to epic.com, which is Epic version of a Steam platform where every day they'll reveal a new game that you can download for your PC. So check that on Epic.
Oh, cool.
Right now, there's just a ton of stuff happening in the gaming industry, and right is the time. There's some rumors right now of the PS5 Pro. Interesting. Maybe probably down at the some this is rumors, maybe on September. I don't know, could be, could not be, who knows, but there's a lot of rumors on it right now, and it kind of falls into the same for when the PS4 came out. This was probably about the time of the life cycle when they upgraded the hardware. So there you go on that. A little bit of gaming news, and that's all I really have.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I guess we need to make the stupid news last as long as humanly possible so that we don't have to do the show, right?
Yeah, we'll just play the outro 5 times.
And that's all for the nerdy happenings of the week.
I never thought we would be to the point that we would just delay. We don't want to do the episode.
It's not that we don't want to do the show. We love you guys. We love doing the show. Mike and I love hanging out, and we just really don't want to do this episode. And if you watched last episode, and if you thought we were harsh on Highlander,
this is all right. Well, let's
shall we do some stupid news?
Which is appropriate. Let's do that. Yes, please.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling. We have to make reels for this week.
Yes, we're gonna
get millions of views. I'm sorry. I can't keep a straight face. I'm sorry. Do the stupid news.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It can't be any worse than what we're going to do on the show tonight.
No, it's not. I don't think so. Well, in DeSoto County, Florida, there's probably about roughly.
There we go. That's a good place.
There you go. That's right. DeSoto County, Florida is roughly 1,400 miles from the border of Mexico. So Gabriel Lavino probably figured nobody would get too confused when he outfitted his white Chevy Silverado with a green decal that evoked the U.S. Border Patrol color scheme. Interesting. Lavino had included Lavino has included a diagonal green stripe across the bed as an actual Border Patrol trucks. Unlike the real Border Patrol trucks, Lavino's logo read Booty Patrol.
Oh my God.
This is Florida. Just have to remind you.
Just makes sense. No surprises here.
That's right. Aside from the insignia on the doors, where an official truck decal would read U.S. Customs and Border Protection, his truck says National Booty Behavior Protection. I have no idea. Given these differences and the patrolling the U.S., given these differences in that patrolling U.S. border in Florida typically involves a vehicle that floats because, Florida,
there's a lot of water.
Exactly. The sheriff's department, most people would think that, you would see a U.S. custom truck, Border Patrol truck, you're thinking that's weird in Florida. But anyhow, there you go. But given the difference between that, the sheriff's department still wanted to make sure that a post went out warning people about this phenomenon of a truck saying Booty Patrol. Apparently, there was a post of a wanted poster on Facebook writing DeSoto County Sheriff's Office is reaching out to raise awareness about a vehicle equipped with red and blue lights that has been impersonating law enforcement. And it's not just happening here in DeSoto County, but in several other counties across Florida as well. So I guess there's copycats out there now. A day later, they updated the post with the news that they tracked down the Booty Patrol and issue a $113 ticket for a violation, which pertains to certain lights prohibited. I guess it's certain lights prohibited.
Yeah, you're not allowed. There's certain colors, certain color combination that you're legally not allowed to have on your vehicle.
So there you go. The booty man got booty patrolman has gotten caught, and so anyway, booties are now safe or whatever in Florida. But hey, we got another one in Florida here. A 30-year-old Florida man, a 30-year-old Florida man was arrested for alleged. 33-year-old Florida man was arrested for the alleged theft after refusing to pay $250 for a Waffle House logo tattoo. Okay. Yes.
He refused to pay.
Yes.
For the tattoo that he requested of the Waffle House logo.
Police says, this explains it. The police says that the suspect was arrested on Saturday for using. Yes. Police says the suspect was arrested on Saturday for refusing to pay for a $250 tattoo he received at the Ink God's Tattoo Shop in St. Petersburg, Florida. The suspect allegedly under the influence, during the tattoo session.
Surprise.
That's when tattoo sessions go bad. Opted to get the Waffle House logo tattooed on his right calf. Now, the dispute arose when the approximate 5-inch wide tattoo was designed in gray and black instead of the restaurant's signature yellow and black. That's so.
Okay.
Yeah. So the owner reportedly told police that the suspects declined to pay the additional $100 for the yellow ink. So when it was time to settle the bill, the customer reportedly refused all options to satisfy his debts, according to the arrest report. Charged with theft, the Florida man posted a $150 bond and was released from jail the same day. Now, okay, so he wouldn't pay the $100, but he would pay $150 for the bond to get out of jail.
Brilliance.
That's stupid news.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
I don't know. So the next, well, folks, now.
I just
how do
want
we
you
start?
to know.
How do we do this?
Before we go there.
Yes.
Before we go there.
Okay.
So, how do I,
yeah,
this is not about, I'm trying to put it off a little bit longer.
Okay.
DeSoto, Florida. Border Patrol.
Yes.
I found the post.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets better.
Does it really?
It gets better. Yeah, I found the Facebook post, and the first comment on the post is, "That's my show truck. Only time lights are on are at shows and when I'm parked on private property." So I clicked his name, and it is his truck.
It is truck.
This is the guy. The guy. It's the on Facebook. He commented on the Border Patrol's post. That's my truck.
Well, it didn't take that much police work to figure out whose vehicle that was.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Well, that's sure a way to
back from July or earlier with him and his truck. May, April. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was a bit surprised. I believed you.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
What I didn't expect was that someone would actually fess up to it and say, "Oh yeah, that's my truck."
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's fine. It's okay. I mean, I understand what's happening here. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'm trying to put off the show.
Now, folks, we've been building up to this or trying to avoid this for the past, I guess, for the past 28 minutes. But tonight we are talking about the 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yes, I do too. And we don't know how it's going to end tonight. It could be a big fat.
It's a trap.
I believe it's going to be a trap. So we might even throw some whales in it too to mix the things up. But so we talked last week that we were going to watch this. And really what I wanted to see was, we talked about, there was this documentary, Disturbance in the Force. But we said, okay, before we watch this, we have to rewatch the Holiday Special. That was the most painful thing I've ever done this year. I thought going through the ordeal of building a house that lasted for a year and moving and relocating, and no, that was nothing compared to me trying to watch the Holiday Special. And after watching the documentary, which, by the way, is a great documentary.
Yes, it is actually a really good documentary.
It's a really good documentary. And it was so good, and it really explained, it made sense why this mess happened. It really was. So props to the folks who did the documentary, and we'll talk a little bit about the documentary tonight too. But yeah, it, as a child you watch it and you're thinking to yourself, this is so cool. Star Wars on television, which was unheard of at the time.
Oh yeah.
And the problem is that during the time and when Star Wars came out in 1977,
Yep.
it wasn't a problem, but it was a huge success.
Yes.
And of course, back then, movies run off the vehicle of variety shows, which are the campiest, corniest things ever.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Marie Osmond,
Carol Burnett show.
Carol Burnett show, exactly.
The Lawrence Welk show.
Yeah, I saw that. The Lawrence Welk show. A lot of these different variety shows. And so a lot of these, you had a lot of you had a lot of actors that were popular in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and a lot of them carried on these variety shows.
Oh yeah.
And so you had a lot of these writers who really thought they could be hip with the times, but they weren't. And so it's something that could never happen in the 80s or the 90s.
Yes.
So the 70s was a special place for the variety show, and everybody and their dogs had one, apparently.
Yes. And
everybody and their dogs wanted a piece of Star Wars, as we saw in this documentary. And the one they did for Donnie and Marie Osmond,
if you're not aware, yes. On the Osmond show,
yes,
there was a bit. There was like a full stage production.
Yes.
Of and it was all Star Wars. And Chris Christopherson, was it Chris Christopherson? Chris Christopherson was dressed up as Han Solo. Donnie and Marie were dressed up as Luke and Leia, which
made sense.
Ironically, makes
Ironically,
perfect sense.
Which at the time nobody knew, but anyway, that they were brother and sister.
That's actually my favorite part about that bit.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. That they're actually brother and sister, and then all his brothers played stormtroopers.
Yes.
Yeah, so with that said, here we are. And because of the documentary, which is really fascinating, is that the whole reason this happened was that Lucas had a meeting with one of the heads of Warner Brothers, and they were wanting to capitalize on Star Wars on this other sci-fi movie. And somewhere in the conversation, apparently, this studio head tells George Lucas, your thing is going to be a flash in the pan. Nobody's going to remember it. And apparently it shook up George Lucas. And he was like, what do we need to do to keep this in the minds of the people before Empire comes out? And
before Empire comes out, and coming up to Christmas season, when the new toys were going to be available.
Exactly.
That is also a key to this whole situation.
Marketing.
Kenner had, in 77, there was a commitment to make toys, but generally the toys weren't available by December.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So 77, you really couldn't buy Star Wars toys. They sold cards that promised you the toy once it was available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you paid full price for the toy. You got a cardboard cutout of what the toy would look like. And then later you got the toy. So in 88 or in 78, the toys were actually on the shelves and they needed to be moved.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was George trying to make sure that people remembered Star Wars, so Empire was going to be a hit, and to make Kenner happy because they needed to sell toys.
Well, and it was in the campaign to make that happen. I'm trying to think of the man's name. If everything that had to do with promotion of Star Wars laid into this one man who was the public relations And I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name. He's mentioned in the documentary.
And apparently this man was the power behind getting Star Wars out there, and it includes him making a deal with making a deal with Marvel. At the time, he wanted to come out with before Empire came out. This is actually before New Hope came
Star
out.
Wars. Yes, this is before Star Wars. That New Hope came out. He wanted 3. And his name is Charlie Lippincott.
That's right.
By the way, if you're curious how we know some of these things all of a sudden later, it's because we have like the videos up on our second screens so we can scrub through.
Exactly. Them. I was hoping we would come across as if we're intelligent.
So
but yeah.
Charlie Lippincott, he had proposed to George that we should get Marvel to produce 3 comic books before the movie even comes out.
Yeah.
As promotional material. And Lippincott like went around to any convention that he could find a bunch of nerdy kids at to talk the movie up.
Yeah, I mean, he he really set a precedence on this, because this is what now sci-fi and TV shows and other forms of entertainment now go these Comic Cons, some of these fan shows, and so. But he really pioneered that, and
before the movie ever
came out.
Yeah,
and he had it where the artwork, and I forget the name of the artist. It was a lot of the kind of the ideal boards,
the early Star Wars art,
and before they even had any film, he actually had Mark Hamill there, and they would go through the art and they would talk about the story.
Ralph McQuarrie.
Yes, Ralph McQuarrie. And so anyway, he was just, he went to film school, but he never produced any film. He was really more of a marketing, a publicist. He knew how to represent and sell a product, and that's what he did. And of course, we ended up with the holiday special, but it was almost in this situation where Lucas was almost, and of course, there's a lot of blaming going on. And of course, Lucas made a quote about, if he could go back in time, he would have a hammer and he would, destroy any film or any tape,
every VHS tape of it that he could find. So maybe if you've never seen the Star Wars holiday special, maybe we should just really quickly give kind of an overview.
Yeah.
So basically, here's the scenario. There is this Star Wars holiday called Life Day that they invent for the show. And I don't know, it's like Thanksgiving, it's like Christmas, home for the holidays kind of thing.
Yes.
And the point is that Han Solo is trying to get Chewie back to his family. By the way, Chewie is married and he has a kid, and there's a grandpa in here as well.
A dirty old man. Yes,
a dirty old man. And he's trying to get him home for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And we open on the family, because Chewie's not there. By the way, in this Star Wars Hollywood holiday special, the majority of the time you don't see anyone you've ever heard of from any Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes. And
can I rewind for just a moment?
Oh, go ahead, rewind.
I'm a little I don't know if sad's the right word, or
go ahead.
Disappointed. At the very beginning, you get all these headshots of each actor.
Yes.
And C-3PO. And it says, Princess Leia, played by Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, and Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, and R2-D2 as R2-D2.
Yes, so Kenny Baker.
Even
Kenny Baker.
Kenny Baker credit.
I know.
So I don't know if Kenny Baker is actually in the suit for this show or not.
I don't know. Maybe
I did think that was funny that
I thought it was
Kenny
funny.
Baker did not get any credit at all.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't want any credit on this thing. But yes, but and from my understanding, this is supposed to be this, and this happens between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. This is supposed to be within that canon.
Yes.
And that was an interesting time because, there was no lore happening between that time. So apparently, some say
there was lore happening during that time because Marvel had a comic book and there were all sorts of novels, but none of them, nobody was in control. Everybody was just making stuff up.
No, it was nothing. Yes, it was no control over it.
And in the documentary, there is a hint that part of this story might have actually come from George Lucas.
Well, and from the documentary, he talked about it, and there was a recording where he was kicking it around, saying, he wanted actually in New Hope to have a focus on the Chewbacca family, about these Wookiees. And so when they came up to him about this holiday special, he thought, this is the opportunity to focus on a Wookiee family. And so, and he had a lot of stuff written out, like George Lucas, he had a look for in the vision, what it should look like. And he gave it to a bunch of variety comedy writers, and I don't think he really understood that what he was giving them. And he just kind of, okay. And then he left. And so, and it was kind of one of those things where, he had a lot going on. He wanted to focus on Empire, but in his mind, this was supposed to be kind of, I don't think Lucas really understood what was going to happen. I don't think he really understood. So either.
I think he had an idea, and then he turned over some basic thoughts to a bunch of TV producers.
Yeah.
And they went and did what TV producers do.
Yeah.
Not what a movie maker would do.
Exactly.
And that was the big problem.
Yes.
So we have this lovely family. We have Mala, the wife. Perfectly fine name. Actually, I think she has a longer name, but I can't remember what it really is.
Yeah.
Then we have Itchy,
which is the grandfather.
Yes. And then we have Lumpy as the kid, which are not such great names.
No, we couldn't spend 10 more minutes and think of something better, but yeah.
Yeah. That's basically the premise, is just watching this family supposedly prepare for Life Day. And, Wookiees don't talk. So for the first 9 or 10 minutes, nobody says anything intelligent.
Exactly. You can't understand. And at that time, apparently they didn't believe in subtitles, because they didn't think Americans would read subtitles. So they had these actors who were more like mimes, and they come on there. And so this whole time they're trying to convey and whatever actions are doing, and some little. Now I heard that somebody actually took that and they put their own subtitles on it.
Yeah, they made something up.
And made something up.
I haven't watched that, but I
haven't seen that. Yeah, exactly.
So I am a little bit curious as to whether or not there was no dialogue, or if there is written dialogue that was then removed. Because, and this goes back to how George would have done it versus how TV producers do it. Because in Star Wars, Chewbacca actually has legitimate dialogue. And the actor in the suit says the dialogue, and the actors react to it. And then they replace it later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they didn't do that here.
There was a lot of discussion over, was the special needed? as far as, because the fear was, Star Wars would be forgotten.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of mind.
And back then, if a movie would come to the theaters, and if it was super popular, it might come back to the theaters again if there wasn't anything to put in the theater.
Exactly.
But for the most part, it was, a long time before anything showed up on TV.
It was interesting. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there was a lot, the bizarreness of it in this special was that you had actors that didn't belong in the universe. You had people like Art Carney. You had these older actors that really were trying to invoke.
Was it B. Arthur?
B. Arthur was in it. You had Harvey Korman in it. People and it was like, it was very cringeworthy because Art Carney was, and if you know anything about history, Art Carney played Ed Norton in The Honeymooners, and he had this little bit that he did, and he tried to do a little bit of that in one of the scenes, and it just was like, it was like Bob Hope trying to be hip in the 1970s. It's like, you have these actors in their 60s trying to be relevant, and it just was cringeworthy. Yeah, and so you had B. Arthur, who she wanted a song, and they wrote her a song.
Yes,
in the cantina, and the cantina is supposed to be a place, with the vile and villains and and ugly, and fights and stuff like that. And they all just sung together with their drinks in their hand, and while
it was like Cheers.
It was like Cheers. And
so you mentioned the music, the songs.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, for the 1970s variety show, the music isn't horrible.
That's the thing. You have to for the night.
Star Wars, it was horrific.
Yes, that's the problem.
And that's the key. None of the songs are bad. None of the variety show acts were bad. They just didn't fit in this universe.
No, it did not. It was not the vehicle for a variety show.
No.
And that's the problem. Yeah. And in so many of these variety shows that was allowed to take on the Star Wars banner, like Donnie and Marie Osmond, they had a point where they had Vader and Chewbacca was kind of holding each other like buddies, and so it takes you away from the actual. Go ahead.
It almost makes more sense that direction. Taking Star Wars and putting it into Donnie and Marie's show that way almost makes sense.
Well, like the Muppets.
But yes, like you take Star Wars, you dump it into the Muppets, and they do weird and stupid things.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to do weird and stupid things on the Muppets.
But this was not. This was Star Wars. You don't do it the other way around, and that's what they did.
Yes.
And and it's incredible because they went over budget. The people, I can't remember their name. It's Mitzi and some other. There was almost was a husband or wife writers or something.
A couple. There were producers,
and they were left to edit. And neither one of them ever edited video before because the guy left. He said, I don't have time to edit your stuff. I got another project I'm doing, and it was such a mess. It was such a mess. And really, what it came down to was Lucas's fear of it becoming something that would be forgotten, which meant he sacrificed creative control.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. It was the time of the 1970s variety show, a fear factor, loss of creative control, and there you go.
And just not caring.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Lucas really didn't care. about this.
Apparently not. Not until afterwards when he saw the. Yeah, it's not till afterwards.
My favorite comment was, and I think this was actually a George Lucas interview, where he basically says, "I saw it, and I said, how much do I have to pay for this to never air?"
Yeah.
And it was just too much money.
Oh yeah.
So it had to air. So let's talk about something that I personally think is slightly redeeming, but still not great.
Yeah.
What do you think about the cartoon?
I thought the cartoon was probably the best thing out of the whole series. It almost had the animation of I guess I forget the art form, but they had one called rock and roll.
Heavy metal.
Heavy metal was that. And it's fascinating because you see like Boba Fett, he carries the rifle that you see in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know, that fork rifle. And I mean, it was weird. They were contorted. I mean, it was definitely a weird type of animation, and it was kind of out there, but
the story isn't horrible.
And this is actually is the same people who later on does some of these other animations like that you can see on Disney Plus that was made during that time, especially like with I guess there was one on Ewoks and the droids and stuff like that.
Those were Saturday morning cartoons.
So I didn't think that was terrible. I think as far as the whole thing goes, that's probably was the best part of the show, was that animation. And actually, you think about it, if they would have done the whole show in a type of animation like that,
they almost could have gotten away with it.
Could have almost gotten away with it.
You know what? I think that's actually legit. If Art Carney had voiced a guy saying some of that goofy stuff in a cartoon, it might have worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was so bizarre because you went from, and the cartoon came out from like, you have Imperial officers in this Wookiee home, and all suddenly for a minute, they're watching TV. Or they're watching their display. I mean, it's just out of the blue weirdness like that, or out of these blues messages from someone in command.
They're commanded that everyone must watch the. They're being commanded to do to quarantine, to basically go back to their homes and not leave, and they have to watch this video presentation. And it's the song of B. Arthur in the cantina.
Yes, exactly.
That makes no sense at all.
There was this one excruciating segment, and it just one that was the most one for me was the VR.
Oh,
itchy VR.
VR. Oh my gosh, and that is such a bizarre scene.
Apparently the singer that shows up is Diana Carroll, which is big and back in the 70s. Originally, from my understanding, they wanted Cher to be in it, and she had other arrangements. And so she was in it. And
good move, Cher.
And so here you got Art Carney, who plays the tradesman. He brings in this little gift and, holiday gift, and Grandpa Itchy has it on, and, Art Carney kind of this, I don't know, it was kind of this creepy, oh, you're going to like this. I mean, it was creepy, okay? I'm thinking.
Wink. Yeah, exactly.
And then all suddenly, it was just weird. Even the motions, she's saying, that the things that she say to him, and it was bizarre. Without getting in too much detail, it almost like, okay, this is beyond. This is supposed to be like literally supposed to be a family show, because really that was what they were trying to hit. They were trying to hit that market.
We didn't mention this earlier. Apparently on most stations, it preempted Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk.
Yes. Exactly. So, it was there was a great disturbance in the force, but there was a lot of this. They had, you had the very end, you had Carrie Fisher, who was not a singer. Okay. She was not a vocalist. She did okay. But
Yeah,
for my,
she doesn't have a horrible voice.
no,
That
but
is
it
not her
was,
forte.
but it was like, and they came up with this horrible, apparently you have all these Wookiees at the very end, in this ceremony, and they all have these red robes on. You don't
Yeah.
find out till later the reason they have red robes because they couldn't afford the full costumes, so they put these robes on them during production, and then they didn't have the finances, so they bought all these candles throughout Hollywood and wherever they could get candles, and they lit them up all over the studio where they were doing this thing. And it was like almost like they're all walking. It looked like an occult, like they're going on, the comet. It's like, okay, here's Hale-Bopp Comet, we're all going to get onto it, and then we're going to take off somewhere. It was the weirdest thing ever, and there's nothing that we can describe to you verbally over this podcast that you would have to watch it. And guess what? You can watch it on YouTube. Oh, you can watch it for free. You can go to the Internet Archives for free. That shows you how much no one wants to take any copyright credit for this, is that you can go to YouTube and you can watch it in its full entirety without any cuts, without anything.
I mean, the simple idea that Harvey Korman dresses up like an alien Julia Child.
Exactly.
And does a cooking segment with 4 arms.
Yes.
Like what? How does that happen?
And the thing is, these writers, I mean, you had some writers in there that you knew there was toking. Okay, you knew there was some drugs involved. One in particular, I don't remember his name, but he even said that, yeah, they were Bruce Flantz. He was hired to write jokes. Which I don't know. That Ken and Mitzi Welch, that they, those were the comedy writers there was the show writers they brought in, the producers, and they had no background in any sci-fi or anything like that. They just knew how to write variety shows, and that's what they did. So
they did what they know how to do.
Exactly.
They
and
did
so
not understand Star Wars. They did not know how to write Star Wars. And talking about the you mentioned Boba Fett and his the forked rifle.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from the documentary about this is let's see, it's the Marvel guy. What's his name?
Oh, Fabio.
John
Fabio. Yeah.
John Fabio is talking to George Lucas and says, "Hey, George, did you see we put the rifle from the Hollywood special, into the Mandalorian show?" And that's kind of cool, because it's canon. Yeah. And George Lucas goes, "Yeah, no, that's not cool."
Yeah, exactly. He pretty much just kind of shrug it off.
Oh, and the actors talking about it get questioned as to why they did it, and they don't want to talk about it, or they've been told not to talk about it.
Well, Harrison Ford says straightly, "It was my contract. It was in my contract." And Mark Hamill talked about it too. He said, I told him, it was in my contract, but I wasn't going to sing. I told him I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to do that. But, it was under contract. They didn't, that was the reason they had to do whatever to promote the franchise or the movie. So I found it, it was fascinating. And, it's funny how, they all know that George Lucas, that how much he hated it. And what's funny, you in the documentary, you have guys like J.J. Abrams saying, "Yeah, it's canon. Yeah, it's canon. Yeah, it's canon." Which J.J. Abrams, you just leave Star Wars alone. That's all I have to say. John Favreau, he said, "Yeah, I loved it." I'm thinking, John, did you say that? You said that you loved it. I mean, there's something about being a kid and watching it, and you're thinking Star Wars. And I think a lot of the people who talked about it as a kid watching it, of course,
I was 7.
But as a kid, though, you
good or bad.
Yeah, and as a kid too, you also though, you go, okay, this is fine, but where's Luke Skywalker? Where's Han Solo? Okay, this is Star Wars.
I don't know if you noticed this, but one of the first things I noticed when I watched it this time was like the Millennium Falcon.
Cardboard.
Definitely too small.
Yes.
There's not 4 seats. And the seats that they're in are pretty much like the seats you and I are in.
Yeah,
right
I know. It was all cardboard. It was, yes. And
it was just mocked up just enough to shoot. That's it.
Harrison Ford, it makes him cringe so bad. So bad. It's just, he was on Conan O'Brien, and they were trying to bring that topic up of the holiday special, and they were and I guess him and O'Brien had kind of a conversation beforehand, but Harrison Ford the whole time, O'Brien saying, so, but you know what I'm talking about, right, Harrison? The that holiday special you guys are doing, the whole time he's just kind of banging the side of his chair, getting, awkward and uncomfortable. And, and it was just, so it is a joke throughout, throughout history when it came to Star Wars. And it's funny how, I guess at one time, of course, back then they never taped anything, it wasn't anything that you put back out again, but somehow it was put on a VHS, and it was like, I guess it was this coveted thing if you could find it.
Yeah.
And of course, after it came out of Pandora's box, people wish they never saw it. People wish that
in the documentary, one of my favorite parts is, and I'm pretty sure it's a scene from the Goldbergs.
Yes, that's right.
That show.
Yeah, it was based off the 80s.
He's super excited to watch this videotape of the holiday special, and he's talking about I loved it, and then the next scene is, I hated it. How can I hate Star Wars?
Well, I love the dad. The dad said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Were you when he was saying he loved it?" His dad was going, "Were we watching the same movie? Were we watching the same show?"
Oh my gosh! But I remember watching it originally, and I couldn't I was 7. I really don't remember.
Yeah,
how I felt about it, other than it was just Star Wars is on TV, and this is, I haven't seen anything Star Wars in a year.
Yeah,
because at that time, nobody had VHS, nobody had, home video wasn't a thing.
No,
but it astounds me that it happened. It astounds me that it has a bit of a cult following, but it is like The Room.
Yes.
It has a cult following, not because it's good.
No.
It has a cult following because it is bad. It is as bad as you think it is.
Yes. What's the comedian's name? He was famous in the 80s, Bobcat Goldthwait. He said, "I love watching bad movies, but even this was too much."
The story about they had, what was it? Was it I don't remember who it was, but it was a room full of people that were producers or something, and they had this competition. It was like okay, we're gonna watch this Hollywood the Star Wars holiday
Yes, it
special,
was Seth
and
Green. Seth
whoever
Green.
taps out last wins. And
Yes,
people just got up and left
got up
because
and
of how
left.
bad
That's
it
right.
was. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
Seth Green was working on a project with George Lucas, and it was like Star Wars U-Turn. It was a little animated thing for Disney, and so Seth Green, who he does, if you don't know, he does like Robot Chicken,
Yeah.
and he plays voice acting in the Family Guy, stuff like that. Anyway, he was really, he was pretty blunt with George Lucas, asking, how did this happen? And and George kind of just shakes his head, and he says, I forget what he said, something about how, at the time, we thought it was a good idea, something like that, in that vein. But, yeah, so yeah, that's fascinating. And I totally get that, being a Star Wars fan, loving Star Wars, and you sit there and you watch this and you go, how could they do this? So my recommendation, if you've seen the holiday special, I'm sorry, but watch Disturbance in the Force. It's a great documentary. It's entertaining. It's fun.
Unfortunately, it's not free right now. It actually just came out this year.
Yes.
So you can rent it on Amazon Prime and a couple of different places. So.
Yeah, and
it's worth $5 to rent.
It really is. It really is. So and I think they did a really good job. And so I highly recommend it. I'm sure there's tons of other things that we could talk about on this.
I'm sure there are.
I mean,
let's just put this out there. The effects are horrible.
I can't believe I forgot.
Even good. They're not even good for the 70s. I don't think.
Okay. This is another why. Jefferson Starship.
Oh, Jefferson Starship. Yes.
The reason they did it was because Starship, we have starships, and then there was a song, Warp Drive. We have Warp Drive, Hyperdrive,
Hyperdrive.
Hyperdrive
Makes perfect sense. And they do some song called "The Sky's on Fire" or something.
Something I don't know.
Which, mind you, is not a horrible song, but it's not like a super memorable Jefferson Starship song. But at the same time, it's just why.
Yeah, they told the guys to go into a room. Here's a bunch of props. Put something together that looks out of space.
Yeah,
and that's what they told them. And so they just grabbed a bunch of stuff, and they, and I guess they, after that they put a little, I don't know, After Effects on there. I don't know, but a little something, a little glow, a little gloss, special effects. Anyway,
so one of the things I think is hysterical in the documentary, though.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember, if you caught this. Peter Mayhew, the guy who plays Chewbacca, he's apparently at a convention, and this isn't like somebody said he said. This is like a video of him saying it. He says, "Oh yeah, the holiday special. That was quite a thing. I'm a little bit proud of it."
Exactly. I'm a little bit proud of it. Yes.
Why not?
Why not?
It is one of those things. If you are a Star Wars fan, and if you think the worst Star Wars is the stuff that Disney has put out, you have not watched the Star Wars
special
holiday special.
It's a warning. It's kind of a warning. Exactly.
I will say this though. The Donnie and Marie Osmond bit, the Star Wars bit on their show, it's not horrible. It's watchable.
Well, yeah, and compared to this, yeah, if you're going to put it in comparison, yes. Yes. And that's the only saving grace that Donnie Marie Osmond has, is because of this. if the holiday special didn't exist, then man, we would have
And we would be
that to
making
make
fun of that.
fun of that. So there you go. But that's right.
So when
yeah.
Marvel said they were going to put out a holiday special, a live action holiday special, my first thought was, are they just going to are they just going to spin out of control and
I remember
basically make fun of? I was really thinking, well, what they could do is just completely copy the Star Wars holiday special and make it just as bad.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, they would have, because they were doing basically Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which they, and of course it was all about Kevin Bacon, which was funny. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Funny. It was and it did have some variety bits in it because, they had songs, but, but that is not as cringy as this.
No, it was not at all. Not at all. Because they had that as a warning. They had that as, that's what we need to be careful with. That's what we need to avoid. So yes, and there's a Lego
ever come out on Disney Plus. Do you think Disney Plus will ever let it shine the light of day?
If it hasn't now, I don't know if it will. I don't know. Of course, I mean, this new documentary may have a resurgent for it. So I don't know. But of course, only nerds like us would actually watch this documentary. So
if they put it out mainstream. If they put it out on DVD, people would buy it.
I know.
They could put a box set, the holiday special and the documentary.
And if you act now, you get the Donnie Marie Osmond variety show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, folks, I don't know where else how to end this. I mean, I'm sure we could talk about this all night, and then we have nightmares, and then that kind of thing. But
are you glad you watched it?
The documentary, yes. The actual holiday special, no.
I think I appreciate the documentary more for having watched the special.
Well, I agree with that, because all it did was reassured me that I wasn't alone, and it reassured me that other people also was affected, in the psyche after watching that show. But I think what really helped is understanding the culture and the time, and and just understanding the business of that time. It was the 1970s, and it makes sense now.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And really, if it really comes down to it, at the end of the day, you have to blame George Lucas for just letting it go. I mean, really, if it was something unfortunately, George walked away from this thing, and
as soon as he knew what it was, he should have shut it down.
Yes, or got in there and said, but the problem is, once you get the studios in there, forget it. You've already given up your creative control, and you're out of the picture. So anyway, but on that note, folks, if you want to check us out, we have speakingnerdy.com. There we have all our videos, we have our merch, we have our audio podcasts. You can pick up our audio podcasts from any of your favorite audio platforms, from Spotify, Apple, just whatever you enjoy listening to. You can get us on YouTube/Speaking Nerdy. That's our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, please. And we come out every Friday, so check us out. We also have Speaking Nerdy Facebook and a Facebook group, so come on down and visit. We also have our Instagram/Facebook. Instagram/Speaking Nerdy, and we're on that as well. So, hey, we're glad that we could give this to you tonight. or
this is our
this
Christmas
morning
present to you.
to you. Yes, we're glad we could give this to you. But anyway, do check it out. Actually, go to YouTube. You can find it anywhere on YouTube. You can, if you can bear through the 97 minutes, that's another funny thing. It was going to be a 30-minute, and then it was going to be 45 minutes. And they said, no, we really want to capitalize on this. Let's make it a 97-minute special. There you go. So watch it, and then watch the documentary, which you can get to. I think it's Vudu is also a place you can get it. VUDU. So. That's where I ended up watching it from. Or you can watch it from Amazon Prime, rent it there. It's like $5.
Yeah.
So watch the one, watch that one, and you have a better appreciation for why this happened in the first place. And that's all I have. Man, I'm worn out.
Me too.
That was the roughest. That was rough.
What horrible, horrible thing should we make ourselves watch next time?
I don't understand. I don't understand.